From the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.
I'm Louise Baigelman. I'm the Executive Director of StoryShares. We're so honored to be here today. Before I started StoryShares, I was a middle school English teacher. And this is Nicole. Nicole was one of my students. She had just moved to the United States from the Dominican Republic. She was 13 years old, and she was sassy and willful and mature, but she was reading below a first grade level. And I needed to help Nicole improve her reading skills, to become a more proficient reader so that she could do better in school and in general. But Nicole wanted nothing to do with books that were written for first graders. Stories like Berenstain Bears were uninteresting and embarrassing to her. But the books that were intended for 13-year-olds for her age were too hard for her to read. So I couldn't find enough content that was relevant to her age and interests, but also accessible at her much lower reading levels. And both of us were totally frustrated. She did not want to read the books available, and I couldn't blame her. And we know this is a much bigger problem that goes beyond my classroom and my students. In this country alone, over 90 million teens and adults lack key literacy skills. 70% of high school students need some form of reading remediation. Like Nicole, these students need to read more in order to improve their reading skills. But like Nicole, they don't want to have to practice reading on books that were intended for little kids. So without content that's relevant to their interests and their age, but also readable at their lower levels, like Nicole, these teens and adults often give up. They become disheartened, they see reading as a negative experience, and instead of improving their reading skills because of reading, they actually fall further and further behind. So how do we break that cycle? What StoryShares is doing is we've created a new category of books, a collection of stories specifically for these teens and young adults who read at lower levels. We have 500 titles so far, culturally relevant themes, intriguing topics, age-appropriate characters, but at a range of lower reading levels so that teens and adults can hone in on the books that are right for them. So that instead of having to choose from books that look like baby books and make them feel like they're reading books for little kids, they can choose from books that are actually aligned with the things that they care about, that have characters that they can see themselves in, they can get excited about, and actually deepen the engagement and the reading experience. We have a digital library, and then our books are also available as paperbacks and then printable PDF versions. So it doesn't matter the format, but the idea is giving choices that can really hook readers. And the way that we build this library is we use a crowdsourcing method. We tap into the existing community of writers, and we provide them with the tools and guidance to create and publish the books that our readers need. So why are writers contributing their stories to our library in the numbers that they are? We've had over 3,000 submissions so far, because the writers get a lot out of it too. They get published. They get an immediate audience of eager readers. They get the chance to make a difference in the field of literacy, which is inherently intriguing to writers. And they also get our annual writing contest, the Relevant Reads contest, with cash prizes so that they can potentially win. And so we've built this community of writers in the past 3 years who are now contributing their stories to our collection for the readers to have books to choose from that they really can enjoy. And what are we seeing? We see that when we can offer teens and adults who struggle with reading books that are relevant to them, that they can connect with, when they're able to read books they actually enjoy, they read more. And when you read more, your reading skills improve. And so with better books for these students come better reading skills, better academic outcomes, and then better life outcomes more broadly. Because we all know that you need to be able to read proficiently to excel in your high school science class. You also need to be able to read proficiently to understand the instructions on your prescription, or to sign a lease, or to read a bedtime story to your own child. Better books for the right kind of books for readers lead to better reading scores, better reading skills, and better lives. We're excited by the traction we've had so far. We're now being read by hundreds of thousands of students in all 50 states in this country and more than 75 countries around the world. We know we have a long way to go from here. I want to finish by telling a quick story about one other student, Robbie, who is also a struggling reader and writer, and he read Jacob and the Bee-Man, which is one of the books in our library. It's about a boy named Jacob who starts by saying, "Last year I did something bad, but I'm not going to tell you what it was." And when the book ends, he never tells you what it was he had done before. Well, Robbie read this book, and he wanted so badly to know what Jacob had done that was bad that he decided he'd write his own prequel. So he gave up his recess every day to go in and work with his teacher on creating his own book. This is a student who wanted nothing to do with reading or writing, but he found that book that hooked him, that spoke to him, and it actually inspired him to then write his own. So that's what we're doing with Story Shares. We are engaging these readers who've been overlooked, providing them with a shelf of their own in the library. Thank you.
This has been a presentation of the Library of Congress. Visit us at loc.gov.